Okay. All right. Thank you. Next question is for instance, for MMPC 002, I looked at it. I did not see there are no word count limits. Is it open to say you can take a look at the question and you can give the answer? There are no word limits.
You want me to give the answers of your assignment?
Not necessarily the word limit.
The word
For
limit.
instance,
limit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a word
I
limit
think,
or you?
yeah. The maximum word limit or approximate word limit is there. You need not to be very, I mean, you need not to count the word, but it should be around that. You got it?
The approximate word limit. It's on. I downloaded the paper. It's not part of. It's not on the paper. It's not on the instructions. That's why I wanted to understand.
Okay. If the word limit is not given, then you can write in your way. If the word limit
Okay.
is given, then you need to follow that way.
Yeah, that's fine. Noted.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay.
The last question, Madam Dr. Rashmeet,
Yes.
was in terms of exams. When the exams are, do you get to give focused areas, or it's ghosted everything?
Can you repeat that question during the exam?
For final exams, yes.
Yes.
Do you give areas of focus to say the
Acha, you
exams?
are asking about the important questions?
Yes, I'm saying, do you
Yes,
give areas
generally
of focus here?
in term like that, and they, yeah.
Ma'am, what is the procedure in IGNOU? Like, how do we go ahead with this?
This MBA new is a new program in which these learners are enrolled. It's a new program. Earlier it was MP, like management program.
Yes.
So from last 1 or 2 year, you can we can get you available the question papers. But before that, we are not having question papers of MBA new. So you might go through the old question papers of management program MP. We'll provide you the link so you can get an idea that what are the important areas or focus areas.
All right. That is noted.
Yeah. Right now,
Ma'am,
I would request. Right now, I would request all the learners to go through their study material and prepare your assignment very well because your assignments means a lot. It's 30% weightage of your total evaluation. So you should prepare your assignment very well. And if you prepare your assignment in a proper way, you will definitely cover at least 70% study of your final examination. So I request all of you, please prepare your assignment very well.
Smriti ma'am,
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
there is a question from Grace. She's asking that where can they find the assignments?
Oh, Rasmeet, actually, some of the learners are not getting where the assignments are. Actually, they are in LMS only.
Okay.
But I have already responded them in the WhatsApp group that I'll get back to them in before tomorrow afternoon. I'll sort it out and let them know what are the assignment.
Okay.
So,
Grace, I hope your query is answered.
and you can
Yes, it
ask me in
has.
the group
Thank
also.
you.
Right now, I think this is your last class for MMPC 002. So you need to concentrate on the topic, and all these other issues we'll discuss in the group also. Okay?
So, ma'am, shall we start then with the academic
Yes,
counseling
yes,
for today?
yes, yes. Yes, please.
Okay. So, hello, my dear learners. I would like to welcome you all again for the last academic counseling for our subject, that is Human Resource Management, MMPC 002. And for today, we are going to cover Block 4, Your block 4 is all about the employee and employer relation. Previous blocks which we have covered, we have already discussed about the basic nature of human resource management. What is HRM? What is the importance of it? How it has evolved in the past so many years? And what are the functions of HRM? I have been telling you previously also that functions of human resource management are, the all together the entire thing. What basically is done in the organizations, it is covered in the functions. So we have discussed about that from starting from block number 2, that is your procurement function. We have discussed about manpower planning. We have talked about recruitment, selection, induction, placement. Block number 3, we have discussed about the training and development function, which is also where we have discussed about performance appraisals. I have explained you different methods of performance appraisal, and I have also explained you that what are the bases in through which we come up with a good appraisal system in an organization, and then how from that performance appraisal we plan for different or various training and development programs. Then further in the third academic counseling, we have talked about the wage and salary administration. That is also one of the function of human resource management, which discusses about what is compensation, what is wage and salary administration, job evaluation. If you remember, we have talked about that what is job evaluation and how it is different from performance appraisal. And that is all about your third block, which we have covered. Today's counseling, it is going to be about the last block, which is, as I just said, it is about the employer and employee relationship. I'm expecting that whatever has been discussed in the class or in the academic counseling sessions in the past few days, you have gone through that study material, and at least try to read those contents which have been discussed in these counseling sessions. Now, when I talk about the employee and the employer relationship, I would like to again refer to the document which is shared with you through your e-Gyankosh content. Just give me a minute. I'm sharing the entire screen with you. In between, I would also be referring to a PPT, and we will be discussing few points from the PPT, which is going to be on in this area only. Is the content available? It is visible to all of you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm just showing you first that what this entire block covers. Block number 4 basically talks, as I was just talking about employee and employer relationship, we would be talking about employee empowerment. What is this concept of empowering the employees? Why is it important? And nowadays, what are the different ways in which the employee empowerment techniques are practiced in the organizations? We'll be talking a bit about it. Then unit 13 is about grievance handling and discipline management procedures. This is a very, very, I would say, an interesting and a crucial area in the organization, because when there are human resources which are working at different levels in the organization, they have certain grievances. And to have a proper redressal of those grievances, what do management comes up with? They have a grievance redressal system. That is how they handle these grievances. So we'll be talking about the entire procedure of grievance handling also. And further, that unit has discipline management procedure. So what is code of discipline? What is the importance of code of discipline? How basically the issues of indiscipline are addressed in the management, and what necessary actions are taken? That is all about your unit 13. Unit 14, that is the last unit for this subject. It's all about unions and associations. When I talk about unions and associations, basically in every organization, industries to be more specific, we have participation of unions, and they are very much involved, starting from the procurement to various different functions in an organizations. Why are they required? What is their role? How the relationship between the management and the union people, or I would say the union leader, how does it is handled, and what are the different ways in which, even from the management side, how do they try to keep things healthy? That is all about your unit 14. So let us quickly start with employee empowerment. I am going to first discuss with you a general understanding about what empowerment means. Empowerment is basically, nowadays what has happened is there is a complete change in the theory of dealing with human resource in the organization. As if you remember, I have already shared with you that HR today is no more a kind of a machine. HR nowadays, it is they are considered as an asset to the organization. Human resource are more involved into decision making. They are following the approaches of participative management, where involvement and decision making is there, sharing of ownership is there, distribution of rewards are there, various access to information is given to the employees working in the organization, and that is basically done because you want the employees to be empowered, you want them to be motivated. So this participation is a process where you are, from the management side, we try to enhance the feeling of efficacy among the employees and try to make them more powerful and empowered. So this is a kind of, a new approach, I would say, where the traditional management is getting replaced. So this empowerment is where you say that not only a task is given to the employee, but you also give authority and responsibility, accountability to that person, so that he becomes more concerned about the duty responsibility which is given to him. And he it's a kind of an autonomous feeling, I would say, which is given to the employee, where we make him do the work as per his own like area of comfort. So it's a kind of an independent handling which is given to an employee, so that he feels more connected to the organization, he's more empowered, he feels that he's more involved, and that actually results into higher quality product and services. So if I say an employee is empowered, it is basically, you will find that he is more committed towards a job, and that also leads to less absenteeism. Because if a person working in an organization is given the authority, given the work as per what he or she is looking forward for, and he it is as per his or her, I would say, capability, so he will not avoid the task, he will not avoid the work, and he would like to be at that particular workplace. So it actually reduces in the longer run the absenteeism, it reduces employee turnover, it helps in taking better decisions, all it comes up with good problem solving techniques. And altogether, if we put that, it is said that it gives you a great organizational effectiveness. Is the concept of empowerment clear to all my learners?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to give you a kind of, a brief about what are we going to talk about it in this unit. Any questions, if you have in between, you can put that in the chat box, and I would be addressing those questions, as I said, in the last 15-20 minutes. So now, when I say that this is all about the meaning of, employee empowerment, when we talk about that, how do management comes up with the various guidelines, or rather, I would say, for introducing empowerment? So they select strong leaders whom they identify that they can be the head change, who can bring that change in the organization. They involve people in planning, which is also called as nowadays workers participation in management, which is a concept called as WPM. They provide training to all the employees, make them, give them the knowledge about the skills, different behaviors, try to establish a symbol of change, that we are not following the traditional ways of making the HR work in the organization, acknowledging them, giving them rewards, appreciations for their achievements, what they do in the organization. Also, understanding that if you bring all these changes in the organization, this transition is basically which ends into a very coordinated effort and the effective results in the organization. So, this is a very, very, I would say, an area, sensitive area in the organization, which needs to be dealt with utmost care. empowerment in itself, if I talk about in today's contemporary business environment, it is very very important, because to be competitive and productive, the organizations should understand that they have to develop the morale of the employees. And if the morale is boosted of the employees working with them, they are going to be more committed towards the task which is provided or to given to them, and they'll do it with true spirit. They'll have a kind of sense of positivity, which will also be reflected in the organizational culture. So this is what is all about employee empowerment. If I talk about quality circle, this is a concept which has come up in, it was first originated in USA and is very very successfully applied in Japan. This technique is basically where we say that the quality circles means it consists of group of people that is from 8 to 10 in number in an organization, who meet on a regular basis, or rather, let's say I put it in this way, in a week's time or fortnight or in a month's time, depending upon the nature of the problems or the frequency of the problem which arises in the organization. And these people, they recommend alternative solutions to certain problems of the organization, try to come up with different ways in which the problem can be investigated and the solutions or the recommendations can be given. So they are the core people of the organization who work on almost every area, and they take that as, it is a kind of a shared area of responsibility. So these employees basically, they create a kind of an environment where they participate, they come up forward with their ideas, do the analysis, and take give certain suggestions to the management for decision making. And it basically helps in the overall development of the, I would say, the group communication skills, and also different problem solving techniques are, or rather the strategies are developed in the organization. So that is what is the concept of quality circle is. I repeat again, this was first originated in USA. Japan has been very successfully implementing this, where if I talk about the concept, it is said that 8 to 10 core people in the organization who management find that they are highly effective, they on a regular basis, either in a week's time, fortnight, or a month, depending upon the problem and frequency, they come together, discuss various issues, try to investigate the causes, comes up with different problem solving techniques to ultimately achieve the goal of the organization, where they are more involved and they give recommendations and corrections to the management. Is the concept of quality circle clear to all of you?
It is clear to me.
I would like to know from my other learners as well. Is the concept of quality circle clear, or you have any queries or concerns?
It's clear to me.
Okay. So shall we proceed then?
It's okay. Let's, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just a second. So when I talk about workers' participation in management, I was just talking about this concept few minutes back, that it's a very highly complex concept. And when we talk about, the kind of paternalistic philosophy which has been, where we do not actually believed in that the management, in the management decisions, the employees should have too much of involvement. But then what has happened with the growth of professionalism in industry, and with the advent of democracy, there has been this change, transformation, which has come in the traditional labor management relations, and there are various dimensions, new dimensions which have evolved. Under those evolved, I would say, dimensions, one of them is WPM, which is highly practiced in good organizations. This is basically to give democracy, or rather, I would say, freedom in the participation, or that I would say democratic participation in decision making. I would like to give an emphasis here that It is not that the decision is taken by the employees, but it is just that the employees participate. They give their inputs, they give their suggestions, they give their areas of concern, what they feel that in which best possible way that particular issue can be resolved in the organization. The ultimate decision rests in the hands of the management only, but the employee is satisfied. They feel that they are part of the organization, management is listening to them, management is giving that regard to them, that they can put forward their suggestions or their concerns which they have for the management. So it is basically involving more number of human resources, so that the feeling of belongingness is there in the employees who are working in the organization. So it is maximum of employee and employer collaboration, we say, where you try to achieve a particular goal and objective, having keeping in mind that when people are more involved, they it's basically good for the organization health and effectiveness. So that is what is the concept of WPM is. Participations are usually done in various ways. Let's talk about those different ways in which the employees come forward and they share their ideas. Basically, when you go ahead with these kind of participations, it is firstly I would say which involves the mental and the emotional involvement rather than any kind of a muscular activity. So it is more of the mind which is involved rather than, I say, body which is involved of a person. So more of psychological concept rather than a physical concept. When you talk about these ideas where the employee participates, as I just said, it motivates the employees as they feel that they are also contributing towards the achievement of the organizational goal, and their suggestions are of really worth. So they feel that they are the initiatives what they actually want to take for the organization, it is being heard by the management. The third area in which we say that WPM is practiced is basically where we actually encourage people to also accept the responsibility. Now, when any employee is coming forward and he or she commits that this is something which, according to me, should be done from the from our side, management should take kind of a consideration to this area. They are more responsible, they are more accountable, and ultimately management also is they also are very relaxed that they have people who are, just a second, they also find that people, they have people those who are more involved, and that involvement ultimately leads to what it leads to, more, I would say, kind of a commitment towards not only the job but also employee retention. So what are the objectives of WPM, if I say so? First is to raise the morale of the employee, or we can say the motivation of the workers as they are closely involved in decision making, giving them the opportunity to express their ideas as a sense of, I would say, importance which is given to the workers, to develop the ties of understanding that there are efforts in harmony. So it's kind of developing a kind of peace in the organization. The efforts are heard by the management. It's a kind of the objective behind this entire exercise is that we look for different opinions or ideas so that the industrial relation problems can be solved. So, if I talk about what are the different forms in which this participation is done, I'll be moving on with these forms very quickly. And I would also like to tell here that they are very, very important, even for your exam when you will write. Usually, the questions which are asked are from the forms of the participations where the employee is involved in different participation areas. One of them is collective bargaining. Anyone who has heard about what collective bargaining is and can give me a brief about it? Anyone who has heard about what collective bargaining is? Yeah, please go ahead.
It's like negotiation, ma'am.
Yeah, it's negotiation. Very good. How do we
Yes.
negotiate? Yes, Grace.
Through the unions, I think the employees get a chance to negotiate for better working conditions, better contracts from their employers, and things like that.
Very, very good, Grace. It's absolutely correct. Anybody who would like to add anything more about it? Why do we go for collective bargaining? As you said, bargaining means to negotiate. If it is, these two words, if I combine them, collectively bargaining. So it's collective negotiation which is done. As you just shared, Grace, about few of the areas on which the negotiations are done. I would like to repeat those areas again. When I say that there is collective bargaining, it is basically where the management representation from the management and from the employee, they come together, and there are joint consultations which are done. And the basic purpose, or I would say the aim or objective of coming forward for collective bargaining, is basically on the principle of balance of power. But in actual practice, if I say, each party, when they are coming forward, whether it is from the employee side or from the employer side, they try to outbid the other and get the maximum advantage by using different kinds of, like threats and counter threats, which are in the form of strikes, lockouts, and direct actions. Here my question is again to all my learners: what do we mean by strikes and lockouts? Have you heard about it previously? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah, please let me.
Yes. So lockouts or strikes is where a situation where there's an impasse. Um, the employer and the union are negotiating, but then they have not been able to reach a mutual agreement or mutual ground. So the next course of action for the employees is to go for a strike. One of the steps to force them to respond to their demands.
Uh, it's absolutely correct. Could you tell me what is a lockout?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please go ahead.
A lockout is like a complete closure of maybe workplace or something like that.
Yeah, it's correct. Can we say that by the answers which I have got from Mohammed and Masumba, as you say that lockout and the strikes, you said that it is complete closure of the workplace. So can I say that lockout is something which comes from the employer's side, Mohammed?
Yes, yes. The employer closes it.
Yeah, very good. And if I say that strike is something which is from the employee's side,
That is correct also.
yeah. So when we discuss about that, what are the different, ways in which, like, if there is, I would like to take an example here, like related to collective bargaining only, as you just said that two of them, that is from the representation from the management side and from the employer side, if they are having a common issue on which they are bargaining, let us consider that issue to be wages, and they are not satisfied with the wage which is given to them, the employees are not satisfied, and they have certain grievances and they feel that it should be negotiated, and it's a kind of a bargain which is going on. Let us assume that the wage which is given to the labor currently is 120 rupees, and they feel that the wage rate should be increased to 150, or let's say 200 rupees per day, whereas the management, they are of the opinion that the wage is completely okay or fine, and it should remain 120 rupees, 120, let's say, rupees per day. So when there is a kind of negotiation which is going on that particular area of concern, which is wage, so then what happens is both the parties, they'll put forward their different, I would say, agreements on these issues, and like from the management side, they would be talking about that in past year or maybe even before that, what has been the financial condition of the organization. They have been into, let's say, losses, or even if they have earned profit, they have invested in other areas, and they cannot increase the wage structure. Or let's say they could also give the reasons that there are already inflations, and they are dealing with another areas of expansion, and they're not able to rework on the wage at least for this particular year. But on the employee side, if I say, it might be that the employees would be of the opinion that because of inflation, the other prices have increased for other, the commodities, and they are finding it difficult with only wage of 120 rupees per day, which is given to them. So they are demanding for more, wage, that is of 200 rupees. And they also have their own concerns that the number of hours what they work, as compared to this firm, the competitors are paying more, and the firm or the organization should consider. So there could be different grounds on which they will be negotiating. Ultimately, what happens is, as you said, that if they do not come to a common consensus, then from the employees end, they have their weapon which they use, that they will be going for the strikes. Strikes are of different types. They be very commonly we hear about hunger strike. There are pen down strikes. There are tool down strikes. There are strikes where we say it is, as I just mentioned, hunger strikes. It is also a strike which is called as go slow strike, where the speed of the work is reduced in by the workers and working in the organization, and this way they show their aggression to the management. Whereas if, let's say, from the management side, they feel that they don't want the employees to come to the workplace, and it is too much of, let's say, grievances which are there, and the entire organization is getting affected because of that. So they might be going for their weapon, which is called as a lockout, where they shut down that particular place where the production or where the employees or the workers work on a regular basis. So when I talk about these collective bargainings are what, where we say that these are basically different ways in which you try to negotiate in a very peaceful manner, in a very cooperative manner. Both the parties, they put forward their areas, their concerns, and in the I would say their counter threat or their threats, what they do, or as a weapon what they use, is in the form of strikes and lockouts. So when I talk about participation of employee, one of the way in which the employees participate in the decision making is through the collective bargaining methods followed by the organizations. In USA, it has been ensured that almost exclusively they have many collective agreements which have been done, and successfully they have been interpreted rather than resulting into big issues in the organization. Another way of, I would say, involving your employee in the organization is through which is called as, I would say, works committee or works council. I'm sharing this document again so that you can refer to that document. I hope that document is visible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
I've just given that example for that, the concept is clear to you. And I hope with that example, you can understand that in which way these bargainings and negotiations are done, and what are the different ways in which both the parties, they show their aggressions. Works councils are basically very exclusive bodies of employees where different, I would say, functions of the enterprise are managed. Very commonly, if I talk about these work councils, we have people who are in, are different positions. They are involved. They are given different certain posts. They are appointed. They are involved in the procurement function. They are involved in the entire appraisal function. They are also involved. These work council committee people, they are involved in fixation of salary. They are involved in the major decision making functions, I can put it in this way. So in West Germany, if I talk about across the world, they have the work councils which have successfully helped the management in various decision making functions. I've just listed few of the functions like the appointment, or I can say procurement, compensation, then investment decisions, and so on. As we have a work council, we also have joint management councils or committees, which are called as JMCs. These are basically the bodies which are consultative bodies. I would also say that they are the advisory bodies, and they are very, very important. They play a very important role in the management. They participate in various ways, that is in the form of advisors or consultants to the management. And if we talk about the countries where we have very active JMCs which are working, so it is many of the countries across the world, including India and even Britain. Then we have a representation of workers in the board representations. So in the board where we have, different decisions are to be taken, we have employees who are part of the board and in the company affairs, looking at their knowledge, looking at their educational background, looking at their skills. They are given certain positions in the board, and that gives them the power also to negotiate various things for the interest of the workers. So they play a very important role, like any decision which needs to be taken for the employees in the organization. These are the workers representation of the people, those who are appointed in the board. Then we have these workers ownership of enterprise. Nowadays, if I talk about, this is a social self management concept which is very much used in Yugoslavia, where they have where they say that the complete control of management is given to the workers. And how is it given? The entire elected board or a work council is appointed, and then they come up with different managerial and operative functions. In my first academic counseling, I hope you remember that we have discussed about the managerial and the operative functions in the organization. So they are more, I would say, involved in the decision making from the end of top level. So they actually practice that. It is not just only for the namesake these workers ownership of enterprise is given, but it is the very involvement of the human resource or the HR in the major policy decisions for the enterprise, especially in the matters of the money, or where the economic matters are concerned. Is it clear?
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what you can do is from your side now, you can just have a study about what are the different forms of workers' participation in management in different countries. As you can see right now in your notes, which are there, of Germany, it is mentioned. So just go through, read that part. You'll come to know how workers are involved in Germany. Then for Yugoslavia also, they have mentioned that in which way through workers council, management board, through the directors which are appointed, how the involvement, more involvement rather I would say, is done of the human resource. I again repeat, why do we have this workers participation in management? Because we want to empower them. We want to give them that particular sense of belongingness in the organization, that yes, they are very important part of the organization. And to give them that strength, to give them that feeling of satisfaction, to give them that involvement in the organization, we practice all these workers participation techniques. That is something which is about your unit 12. There are different case studies also which are given. Like if you can see for WPM, there is a case study in your notes only, that is of TISCO. So please go through that. That can be very much used while you are writing any content or an answer about a particular, I would say, topic. So if you're writing anything about WPM as a concept, you can write more about it in the way that how it is done in or practiced in various countries. That is going to give a very good impact even of your answer what you write. So more where we put examples, more where we give these kind of practical, I would say, content that gives a kind of more weightage even to your answers, and you score well rather than just writing the theory or the content about anything, any topic. Is it clear, the entire concept of WPM?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
we move on to the next unit. I'll just share the screen with you. Unit 13 is all about grievance handling and redressal handling, or workers' discipline, the disciplinary management procedures which are there. Before we move on to what actually grievance handling procedure is, I would like to, just talk about basic concept of grievance, what actually the concept of grievance means, and why do management nowadays have more concerned about coming up for the redressals of these grievances. See, in every working life, if we talk about employees, you cannot satisfy the employees for each and everything, whether it is related to the policy of the company, whether it is related to the working condition, or it is related to behavior of the colleagues with whom they are working. An employee can have a grievance with anyone. Grievance in itself means any kind of a dissatisfaction or a complaint which an employee has. But these grievances are to be addressed in a very formal manner, whereas a dissatisfaction is anything which is disturbing me, or a kind of an unrest which is there. I might express it, I might not express it. But when I talk about a complaint, it is more where I have a dissatisfaction and I have addressed that issue of mine either in words or in writing, so that my supervisor is known about that particular area, and to bring to his notice, to bring to his attention, I have given a kind of a complaint, or I have registered a kind of a complaint. So this is how these terms differ. Grievance is said to be as a very formal complaint by the employee, but that dissatisfaction or a complaint what he has, you would be finding it very interesting if I say that it is not something which could always be real. It could also be something which is imaginary. Now, you would be wondering that what is imaginary grievance. So let's discuss that thing. Anybody from my academic counseling right now can tell me about what is an imaginary grievance. Anybody would like to give a try on this answer? That what do we actually mean by an imaginary grievance? Okay, can you give me an example of the real grievances which are there in the organization from the employees' side? Is the meaning of grievance
Um,
clear? Yeah, Grace, please go ahead.
okay. I'm just trying to attempt with imaginary. Well, there are times in the work environment you, for example, think that or perceive that your manager doesn't like you through some actions, and you just think it's like that, but it's not factual. It's not truthful. I'm thinking.
It's absolutely correct, Grace. The concept what you have said, that is what is actually meaning of imaginary grievance is very good. Anybody else would like to give a try on what imaginary grievance is? She's absolutely correct. What are the reasons through which we have these kind of, I would say, imaginary grievances? Can I say that it is at times because it is of the personality of the person, as you said, Grace?
Yes.
There are at times when we see that really the problem does not exist. It is only because of the very nature of that particular employee who is working in the organization. You might have heard about pessimistic personality. Have you heard about this concept? Optimistic and pessimistic people. Do you know the meaning of what optimistic person or a pessimistic and a pessimistic person is? Bora, I think you want to say something.
A optimistic person is a person who is consider everything positively.
Very good.
Even if it can be a challenge, but he consider that he can. It is not difficult for him to address that challenge or to face it and to gain and to advance. But a pessimist is the one who hesitate. He's not. He do not believe that something can go well. He has some position about his faith, his, and he consider that there is no solution. The solution must be this ABC, but because ABC is not there, we can't reach solution.
It's
Pessimist
yeah,
is the
Bala,
one
you
who
are absolutely correct. Anybody would like to add something? Grace, you want to
Yes,
say
I wanted to
something?
talk about a pessimist. I could say he's a prophet of doom, always thinking about the worst to happen, you know, never positive, always trying to think something will go wrong. And the
Yeah.
optimist is the opposite.
Basically, when as both of you have given me the answer, both the answers are correct. When we talk about grievances which are imaginary, it is because of the personality of the person. A pessimistic person would always look at the negative side of any situation, any work, any responsibility, any assignment which is given to him. Because of his very nature, he has a habit of always being dissatisfied. Whereas when you talk about a kind of an optimistic person, again, I would say very nature of that person is that he or she is going to look at the positive side of the things happening in the organization. So when I say it's a imaginary grievance, the grievance might not actually be something which is factual or it is something which really exists, but it is the person who's by nature he has of he has a habit of looking at the things always on a negative side. So when I say it is a grievance, we say that grievances or it is a kind of a dissatisfaction which an employee has, which can be real or it can also be imaginary. So what do these companies or the organizations they do? I would like to focus first on this area and then we'll come to the theory part, that is, what are the features and causes of grievances. What do these companies do or the organizations do? They have these grievance redressal cells where an employee having any kind of a dissatisfaction which he has can or she has can go to these committees or cell and just can vent out that stress, can just go and talk about that I have a concern which is regarding, let's say, my ambience, it is regarding, let's say, the salary, it is regarding with the poor leadership skill, it is regarding with my co-workers who are there, my peers, those who are working with me, it is regarding let's say the welfare schemes of the organization, anything, any area where he feels that he or she is dissatisfied and he wants to register that thing to the management. These grievance redressal cells or committees are formed and they give that space to the employee so that they can vent out that stress, so that after that stress is vented, he or she can again resume his or her work with again that utmost, I would say, energy or that particular positivity. I'm not saying that by only addressing that particular grievance means that the management is going to address that or give them the solution. But by the very nature of the employee, what happens is somewhere psychologically, it's a kind of an impact where an employee feels that my issues have been addressed. I have been given a space in the organization where I can go and talk about it. It is not that nobody is listening to me in the organization and I have to go ahead with those concerns and problems and issues, and there is no space in the management where I can just talk about the things which are disturbing me. I would like to say that where management feels that these grievances are of very nature which should be addressed, they try to resolve it by following the grievance handling procedure. I'll be discussing about this procedure in detail, and what actually, how does this entire procedure moves. And then finally they have an understanding from the management side that if they are not going to handle these grievances, what is it actually going to end up into? It is going to end up into big conflicts in the organization. So management, on a regular basis, they check, or they have a word in these grievance handling committees, that what are the grievances areas, issues where the employees are having certain concerns, and on timely basis these grievances are addressed, and the employees again reviving the energy to work in the organization, and is motivated again, I would say, to take up his or her responsibility. So I would like to now share that document again with you. I've explained you the very nature of grievances. I've explained you that what could be the possible areas where an employee can have a grievance. Now look at the content which is there. Grievance refers to any form of discontent or dissatisfaction. As I just said, it arises out of employment. It is not any personal or a family problem through which he has a grievance and he'll be addressing that. And that is not also heard in the organization. Anything where you have any concern related to your employment, that is a matter of grievance for the management. This discontentment arises, which arises, could be real or it could also be of imaginary reasons. I have already given you example, and I have discussed that point with you. We say that these feelings could be valid or invalid. It can be irrational or rational. It can be ridiculous also at times, and also you will find that they are justifiable. So when I talk about these grievances broadly, if we say, so it is very important to be traced, and non-fulfillment of these can lead to big conflicts in the organization. So what are the forms of grievances? If we say, it is factual grievance, actually a legitimate need of employee which remains unfilled. It can be an imaginary grievance, as I just said, because of wrong perception, wrong attitude, wrong personality of that person. He or she might have grievances, and disguised as something where the employee may have dissatisfaction for reasons that are not even known to him, that are unknown to himself. So when he is into kind of a family pressure, or maybe from his from his personal end, I would say he is heavy at heart and he is not satisfied, he is not contented. So that is where he or she might not be able to give his 100%. That is a kind of a disguised grievance, which is not from the professional end, but it is more a kind of a personal problem what he is going through. We also say that an employee's personal life cannot be separated from his professional life. So at any time when you have any personal issues which are going at your place, it is definitely going to affect your professional work as well. So that is why we say that grievances are of three types. That is real, you have imaginary, and you have disguised grievances, which are more of your that nature, which are not known to the employee as well, that what are the causes of employment through which he is having a grievance. Now if I say what are the causes of grievances, it can be related to economic reasons. When I say economic, I'm talking about in terms of money. So it is, let's say, the grievance related to the fixation of wage, the bonus, the incentive, the wage revision rates, the overtime what an employee does, and he feels that I am not paid as compared to the others, the higher wage in the organization. It could be one of the causes. As I just said, it could be also related to the ambience. So maybe the workplace, let's say, because of the tools and equipments what he or she is using, poor quality material, let's say lack of recognition at the work environment, that could be one of the reasons of grievances. Leadership plays a very, very important role. As you all know that when you are being supervised by a person or a superior or a leader, and if that person is having his or her own biasness, favoritism, or we have nepotism which is there, So ultimately it is going to affect the the very nature of the employee, and he'll not be able to give his 100%. So attitude of the supervisor towards the employee could also be one of the area of grievances. Then the fourth area could be in the group where the employee is working. So with your colleagues, if you feel any kind of the feelings where you feel that you are neglected, you're always victimized, you are only the object of humiliation in the organization, your peers are not cooperating with you, so that could also be one area of grievance which is related to the group in which you are part of. Then there are other, I would say, welfare measures which are taken for the employees, like in terms of their promotion, their safety needs are addressed, their transfer facilities, disciplinary rules giving them different leaves issues or medical facilities which are provided to them. So on all these grounds you can have a grievance, and that is something which we say that it is one of the cause of grievances. All what I said, it is classified in the form of this table. You can just go through this table and you will come to know that how these classifications are done of various causes for grievances. Is the concept of grievance clear to all of you?
Yes, very clear.
Yes, it is clear.
Okay. Let us move on to what are the effects of grievances. Now, I said that they are not satisfied, they have certain issues on which they are not contended, and that is disturbing their productivity or efficiency. So, what are the effects of these grievances, if we say, and what are the areas on which we see the impact of these grievances? It could be, just a second. Uh, Suleiman, I would request you to please mute yourself. It's creating noise from your end. Suleiman, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
It's my request to please mute yourself. Thank you, Suleiman. Now, talking about the effects of grievances, as I was just saying, it could be on various areas, where we find the effects are observed. First is on the production. Now, what is the impact on production? Definitely, if your employee is having any kind of a concern where he or she is not satisfied, so you will see the quality of production will start falling. You will find that there is low quality even in the productivity, what he or she is doing. It will increase the wastages, spoilage, leakage of machinery, and will increase overall cost of production per unit. If I talk about the other area or the other effect of grievance which we observe, that is on the employee side. So what are the areas on employees? If I say, it could be the increase in rate of absenteeism and turnover. Now, here I would like to address one thing, that if my employee is dissatisfied, if my employee is having any kind of a grievance, he has certain areas of dissatisfaction. So he would avoid work. He or she would not love to go to the workplace. So rate of absenteeism will increase, and that rate of absenteeism will finally lead to what? Employee turnover. That is, the employee will leave the organization and the organization will become unhealthy. Level of commitment, sincerity, and punctuality will also reduce because they are not satisfied, they are not contented. So it is definitely going to bring the impact on their their commitment towards the work and the organization. There are going to be more chances of accidents because he is always having those concerns in the mind, so he'll not be able to give his 100%, which will also reduce the employee's morale. Now, when I talk about from the manager's end, what are the areas where they feel that the grievances are going to affect? So it is the superior and the subordinate relation is not going to be healthy. There are going to be various strains. The degree of supervision which you are giving them, that will be required much more because the employee is not satisfied, so he'll not be able to give his 100%. So more supervision is required, more control is required from the management side, and also it will increase the areas of discipline because, again, I say, when you are not satisfied, when you are not contented, you're not giving your 100%. And when you do not give your 100%, ultimately it leads to many indiscipline areas or many indiscipline cases in the organization, because always there is going to be an unrest. There is always going to be that kind of, I would say, ineffective approach towards your work. So there are different ways in which management tries to discover these grievances. What are these ways? First way, very common way which is there, is called as an observation. Observations are where that, like, suppose if I am working in your organization and I come to know that absenteeism is increasing, or I find that employee turnover is increasing. So what will I do? I'll try as a manager and a supervisor to track the behavior of people who are working under me. I'll try to see that what are those areas of carelessness, if supposingly there are, why there is so much of like indifferences to commands, why employees are reporting late for the work, why are they remaining absent, and the other areas, through my own observation ways, through my own, without saying anything to my subordinates, those who are working with me, with my own skill, I'll try to observe and will try to come up with the reasons or the solutions for those areas of grievances which I feel. Then the second way is by following a grievance procedure. Any dissatisfied employee at any level, when he or she has a grievance, can report it to the management. There is a proper procedure for it, which we call as a grievance redressal procedure. And through that procedure, you have to take care about the grievance at any level if the employee has. The third way is through these gripe boxes which are there. So these boxes are basically where we at different places, prominent locations at the factory or at the workplace, these boxes are kept, and if an employee has any grievance, so he can just drop down any complaint of his into that gripe box by not mentioning his or her name. So these are anonymous complaints which are pertaining related to the work. So these complaints basically do not reveal your identity, and it is just a way in which the employee also feels that yes, I have frankly, without any hesitation, I have dropped my concern to the management. Another policy is called as an open door policy. This is very, very common and very interesting and also very successful. Open door policies are where you have a kind of a walk-in meeting with the manager. You don't have to go through the entire procedure, or there is a certain way in which you have to reach to the manager. Through an open door policy, you can just directly go talk to the manager, address your concerns, and your problems or areas or complaints can be addressed at that particular instance only. So you don't have to wait for so long for the entire procedure to go. Open door policy is to avoid that tedious procedures and to have a one-to-one communication between the manager and the employee. Another way is exit interview. These are basically conducted at the time when the employee is leaving the organization. Exit, that means when the employee is leaving the organization. Good organizations, what do? They have a kind of an interview with that outgoing employee. They ask them about that, what were your areas of concern, why are you leaving the organization. So it's kind of a questionnaire which they give them, and they ask them to fill answers for those questions. Once they're all dues and everything are cleared, so that an employee can be very, very honest in giving his or her responses. And even management takes it on a very healthy side, that if it is something where my employee was having certain areas of concern, so I do not need to judge that particular employee of mine. Rather, I need to take care of the areas where he was having problem and because of which he or she is leaving. So that's a kind of more, I would say, an interview, direct one-to-one interaction with the outgoing employee from the organization. Then you have opinion surveys. These are also, I would say, one of the way in which the management tries to know from the human resources working in the organization on a regular basis. So it's kind of feedback forms which are there, or opinion surveys which are there, which is all about the organization's policy, procedures, opinions, what the employees have towards them, and if they feel that there should be certain changes which needs to be uh, brought in these policy or the procedures. So through these opinion surveys, you come to know about it. Am I clear till here regarding your grievance causes and your grievances? That what are the different ways in which the discovery of grievances are done?
Yes.
Any questions?
Yes, though I've posted a comment on open door policy.
You have a
I did
question, Grace, on
post, I
open
said
door
open
policy?
door policies are usually a trap for employees because they become like candidates for disciplinary warnings or other
Yeah.
stringent measures by companies that seemingly want to look like they accommodate grievances when they don't.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is, when these employees, when they are into open door policies, are basically to avoid the procedures. When there are like any kind of a grievance which an employee has, and he feels that I want to address it directly with the management. So there are two kinds of policies actually. There's a closed door policy and an open door policy. Closed door policy says that you have to follow the entire, I would say, procedures, rules, and everything, and then reach to the manager or the management. Whereas the good organizations, the good leaders, they believe in the open door policy, where they say that if you have any kind of a grievance and it is a dissatisfaction and you feel it is disturbing your efficiency, so rather than wasting time on the entire procedures of grievances, directly an employee can reach to the management. Grace, I hope what I said is clear to you.
Very clear, thank you. Very clear, thank you.
Okay. We will be further now moving to your procedure of grievance. Very important for your exam as well. Very important when we talk about grievance handling. This is a common grievance procedure which is mentioned here. It could be also, if you'll refer different books, you might find that the way in which they have given a grievance procedure, that is different. I'll show you 1 minute. I'll show you a easy grievance procedure also, which is very easy for you to connect. Just give me a minute. I'll show you a PPT on that, which is about grievance redressal. Yeah. I'll just share my screen with you, and as you see the screen, just let me know. I hope the screen is now visible to all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is basically what we have already discussed. This is something which I was talking about a few minutes back. That is industrial disputes when we have in the organization. They are basically in two forms. One is in the form of a strike, the other is in the form of lockout. Just a second. Uh, so what is a strike, what is a lockout, we have discussed already. I was talking about, if you remember, go slow strike, work, these sit down strikes, stool down strikes, gheraos are made. There's also a strike which is called as a lightning or a catcall strike, which is also without prior notice. So when you do not intimate the management and you just go for a strike, that is called as a lightning strike. How usually lightning happens now without any intimation. So that is what is the meaning of the lightning strike is. I'll quickly move on to the grievance procedure. This is a detailed document about industrial dispute, which we usually refer at our end in our university. So I thought I'll just share this with you. And even if you want this, I can always share that with Smriti ma'am, and you can refer to this document for your even exams. Uh, Look here, this is something what I was talking about. We'll start the entire grievance procedure from here. That is, we'll go from bottom to top. Is it visible to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, so now when I talk about any grievances which are there, you know what is a grievance now. So I'll not be repeating the concept. The one who's having a grievance, the one who's dissatisfied and has certain areas where he feels that I'm not contented, we call that person as a grievant employee. Okay, that grievant employee can have various areas on which he can have grievances. We've just discussed few minutes back that what could be the causes. There are two ways to begin with how he or she can address those grievances. First is where he can directly go to the foreman, and if let's say we are talking about the lowest level in the organization, so we have a grievance committee which is there mandatory in all the industries. It is to be there. So we have representative of those committee in various departments. So if supposingly a grievant employee is working in, let's say, in marketing department, so he has two options. First option is that he can go to the departmental representative, who is basically the member of the grievance committee. Or secondly, what he can do is that he can go to the immediate foreman. The NS word which is written here, these NS stands for not satisfied. So if, like, let's say I talk about myself, I have any concern and I have addressed that to my foreman. So that is the first stage where the foreman needs to answer in 48 hours, within 48 hours. And if I'm not satisfied with the solution what he or she has given me, I can go and meet my immediate supervisor. That means the one who is the supervisor even of the foreman. So now I'm going up in the management. So I am a grievant employee. I had a grievance. I've approached to the foreman. He has answered me within 48 hours. He needs to answer that concern of mine. I'm not satisfied. I'll address that particular issue to the supervisor. One way. Second way is I can go directly to the departmental representative who is in my department only but is a member of the grievance committee, and my grievance can be addressed through him because he is going to take that matter to the grievance committee. So if let's say the supervisor has also given me the solution or has given me any justification for the grievance which I have, but still I'm not satisfied, so I will be going to the supervisor. The answer what he has given, I'll be taking that forward to the head of the department. So as I just took an example of the marketing department, so I'm an employee who's working in marketing department, not satisfied with the foreman, not satisfied with the supervisor, I'll take that particular concern to head of the department. Now at every stage you can see there are arrows which are going to the departmental representative. That means the supervisor can also address that thing to the departmental representative. It is coming, if it is coming from the foreman to the supervisor, and if it is the supervisor has communicated to the head of the department, head of the department can also share that with the departmental representative or can directly take that issue to the grievance committee. So this is basically, you can look towards the right hand side of this document. It says about the number of days in which those issues are to be addressed. First stage is within 48 hours. That is also we call as in 2 days of time. Second stage is within 3 days. You need to address, the supervisor needs to address that particular answer or give that answer to me. If I'm not happy, not satisfied, I'll take that to the head of the department. And in the third stage, it is basically you try to convey that verbally to the grievance committee that, and there's a grievant employee in my department and he or she is not satisfied. Let us assume the reason is economic, that is because of the wages which are given to that employee or the labor. Then if the grievance committee from their side try to give solution to the grievant employee and they are also not I would say successful in doing that, then if that grievant employee is again not satisfied, that concern or issue goes to the manager. So as I just said, we'll move from bottom to the top of the organization. Now this manager is where this issue has now come to the top management. It is the fourth stage of communication where we say that at least now in 7 days of time the manager needs to go through the entire issue, understand what is the reason, come up with different solutions so that the grievant employee is happy, contented. But again, if the solution which is given by the manager and the grievant employee is not satisfied, he can further take that to the works committee, management representatives, to the committees of union, which we have just discussed few minutes back in WPM. That is the joint management councils, the works committee, the union representatives which are there, which will try basically to give solution to the grievant employee. Now here also, when you have made an appeal to the management to revise what is being given by the committee or by the union and you're still not satisfied, you can go for the voluntary arbitration. There are certain terms now which I would be using, that is arbitration, conciliation, and adjudication. Now look at this image which is there in the document, which you have at your end, that is of e-Gyan Kosh. You can see I'll discuss the entire procedure, even this one. This is taken from C. Pettifer Effective Grievance Administration from California. They have given this the entire procedure where they say there is an aggrieved employee. We also call that person as a grievant employee. He can go to the supervisor, then it goes to the middle management, top management. Or he can approach to the departmental representative, it goes to the office bearer, and finally it leads to the ends to the manager or the union president or general secretary. Ultimately, from both the ends, that is from the management side, from the union side, if they are not satisfied, the aggrieved employee is not satisfied, the grievant employee is not satisfied, it is a third party intervention which happens, which is in the form of conciliation, arbitration, and adjudication. First in this comes arbitration, then we have conciliation boards, and third we have compulsory I would say compulsory resolution or the resolving of that particular dispute, which is done by the adjudicator, or the process, I would say it is called as the adjudication. Very, very, very important thing when we talk about your grievance handling, that what is arbitration, what is adjudication, and who all are the members of the conciliation board. Before I move on to these terms, I would just like to know from your end, is the process of grievance handling clear to you? My dear learners, can I get a response from your side? The process of grievance handling, is it clear to you?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. It's okay. Thanks.
Yeah, we have an idea, but definitely we need to go back to read. But yeah, so far so
Yes.
good.
Yes, Farida. Actually, Grace, it is something, okay, Farida. It is something, Grace, which when you will read more in detail, you will, at least you have an idea now that how does the entire procedure goes. I would suggest from my side as the academic counselor for this subject, that remaining every unit which we have done, this is more of technical, where you need to understand the procedures, understand the different technical terms. So I would suggest that please take this particular unit, spend more time in this, spend more time in reading the entire thing. And then again and again, once you read that concept, it is going to be more clear to you. And it is very easy also. It is not that very difficult where you have a problem to understand. Now, when I talk about these three terms, what I've just said, arbitration, or if I talk about a conciliation, or I talk about adjudication, it is basically, as I said, third party intervention. What do we mean by third party intervention? That it now from the management side, what has happened, you have tried to have a word with the manager, the supervisors, the representative of the grievance committee, the members of the grievance committee, with the manager, with the works council, joint management council. Within the organization, you have taken every step. But then still your grievant employee is not satisfied with the response or with the kind of, I would say, answer you are giving for his problem. So then what happens is, it is basically now here when you involve a third party, this is a third party intervention. That is why we call, this is where you call an arbitrator. Arbitrators are basically appointed where they go through the entire concerns or issues what the employees, that particular grievant employee has in the organization, understands the entire working, all the policies and procedures of the organization. And finally, when the arbitrator, after going through the analysis or after going through the entire organization, he submits his report to the management. But interesting thing is that decision of arbitrator is not mandatory. He just gives you a kind of suggestion that this could be one of the ways in which you can resolve that particular grievance what the employee has. But then if the grievant employee is not satisfied by the response or by the I would say solution given for that grievance, the grievant employee can go to the next level where it is the issue is taken to the conciliation boards. Arbitrator is a person, arbitration is a process. Okay. Conciliation board is a group of members who are part of that board who basically try to give you the solution for that concern or that issue. And conciliation officers are the people, those who are the member of the conciliation board. As the conciliation, I would say arbitrator, in same as it happens in conciliation boards also, that they go through the report which is submitted by the arbitrator. But again, what is after their thorough analysis, if they want, they can continue with the same verdict what the arbitrator has given. Or even if they feel something different or something new they want to suggest to the management, so there even the conciliation board can do that. And they can entirely come up with a new solution, new way in which that particular grievance can be handled. Same as the arbitrator, where I just said that if the grievant employee is not satisfied, and he can take that address that particular issue to the conciliation board. Same manner, if he is not satisfied with the solutions given by the conciliation board also, he can take that forward to the adjudicator. Now, this is the stage where we say that the process is called as adjudication. And adjudicator is again a third party intervention which is happening in the organization or who is coming in the organization. But whatever is the decision given by the adjudicator, that is mandatorily to be followed by the management also and by the employee, the grievant employee also. So finally, if any kind of grievance which occurs which is not resolved through the entire process, starting from your immediate foreman or from your departmental representative, from the grievance committee, ultimately it gets resolved by the adjudicator, whose decision is binding on both the parties, whether it is in the favor of the management, whether it is in the favor of the grievant employee, or it is in the favor of both the parties. Whatever is the decision, both parties have to follow the decision taken by or given by the adjudicator. Am I clear?
Yes, madam.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So just a second, I would again share that content. This is something which is very much in detail. It is given in your unit 13, and I've just tried to talk about it very quickly because otherwise it usually takes a lot of time for us also to discuss about the conciliation, arbitrators, the entire procedure. Go through that content, read that thing, you will come to know what I have just spoken about. We'll talk about something more from that unit, that is in terms of discipline. I said that unit 13 is divided into two, that is your grievance handling and also discipline management. For every organization, discipline is very, very important. It is the backbone of the industrial relations. If you have proper discipline at the workplace, You will find that the behavior of the employee is controlled. The effectiveness in their performance is basically dependent upon the discipline from the end of the management. So management follows various disciplinary procedures. They have different regulations through which they try to modulate human activities, because ultimately they are looking for a controlled performance. If there is no discipline, and there is indiscipline which happens in the organization, you will find that the productivity or the efficiency of the labor or the human resource will actually come to an end. So with this discipline, if I talk about what are the elements, you try to have an orderly behavior of the human resource. You try to get the desired result, or rather I can also put it in this way: to attain the organizational objective, it is very important to have a disciplined behavior of an employee. Also, we say that when it is discipline, it is basically you follow things which go as per rule. So people from any level, at any area, department, they are working, but if it is a policy, it is a rule, it is a regulation, or there are certain punitive actions which needs to be taken, so those actions, those policies remain common for all. And that is the reason where you find, or this is how you see that it remains, it creates a kind of I would say a very healthy ambience or environment in the organization. If there is no discipline, whether we start from in terms of their punctuality, or the time at which in which they are reaching the organization, when they are completing the task, how they are addressing each other, how they are following different norms in the organization, if it is not there, you will find everything in the organization will fail, and you will not be able to run a proper organization structure. There are two types of, rather I would say, aspects of discipline. They are negative discipline and positive discipline. Let me explain you these two things very quickly. When I say it is a negative discipline, it involves more of force. That is, it's also, we say it's a kind of a traditional aspect. Nowadays, if you find that you want the employees to be in discipline, you do not go for certain strict rules or punishments for their disobedience, or their you do not put any certain I would say strict penalties on them if there is any violation, because that is a kind of a fear, that if I do not do a particular thing, then I am going to be punished. So you are making them do things by keeping this negative discipline policy, that if you are not working as per the norms of the organization, then certain punitive actions are going to be taken against you. Positive discipline is a very healthy concept, which says that, if an employee is doing the work as per the policy, as per the rule, so it is more where you encourage that person. It gives them a kind of emotional satisfaction also. It increases cooperation and coordination. You give them rewards, you give them appreciations, you give them you acknowledge them for the work, for the efforts what they put in. So that is what is positive discipline means. So positive discipline, if I say in other words, it is basically to internalize your subordinates and tell them the expectations and objectives, what is expected from them in their behavior in the organization. So it's a more kind of self discipline technique which is used. So now, opposite of discipline in the organization is indiscipline. As I said, discipline is very important. So there are different factors which leads to this indiscipline. It could be socio-economic factors, it could be cultural factors, it could be where you have indiscipline related to many areas of concern in the organization. So what do management do? They try to develop these kinds of various procedures, or they come up with different practices where these kind of indiscipline matters are addressed on times, and there are no unfair practices done. Like if I talk about unfair practices, why do an employee goes for an indiscipline? It could also be when he or she feels that there are differences in the wage structure. You don't have a proper declaration of clarity or transparency in bonus or the payment. You have the assessments done in a wrong way, that is performance appraisal. Grievances are not handled in a proper manner. So that could be the reasons where the employees could be dissatisfied they'll become dishonest, and that frustration will actually end up into the agitation and the indisciplined behavior, which actually ends into a kind of a destructive approach in the organization. So there are various forms of discipline. If you say indiscipline, if I say, it could be there when you find that the employees damage certain machines or properties, they go for violations of the rules, they go for a dishonest behavior, they become disloyal. So they are all forms of their misconduct against the management. And management, what do? They have certain ways in which they take strict action against the employees for all these kind of misconducts what they do. So the misconducts could be in the cases where the workman is inconsistent with the discharge of his duty towards the employer. It could also be an indiscipline matter if I say that employee is immoral and he is not trustworthy, employee is not properly discharging his duties, employee is not faithful, employee is insulting the subordinate, where to it is to such a degree that it becomes really uncomfortable for the superior or subordinate relationship. Indiscipline could also be observed when you are very abusive, or you disturb the peace or the place at where the other employees are working, that is your employment place, and you are negligent towards your duties and responsibility, also could be one of the cause of indiscipline. So there are various disciplinary actions which are on very timely basis taken by the management to bring back the discipline in the organization. It could be where you issue show cause notices, where you enforce them through positive or negative discipline ways, as I just discussed, to follow the rules and regulation. You try to improve the work relation and tolerance. So it could be that now look here again, I would like to just talk about this. This is again very very important, that when you talk about any disciplinary action procedure, see, it is going in from the top to bottom. How does it goes? We'll talk about from the complaint side. So you have a complaint which you have received against any indiscipline which has happened. So initially, what does the organization does? They go for a preliminary investigation. That is, they'll before they take a decision, they will be going for an investigation. They'll try to know the reason for that particular indiscipline which has happened, and before they take up any decision, they, or rather a penalty, or make a charge sheet against that particular employee, they would give sufficient time to that particular employee as well to put forward his case, to say about what he feels, that a kind of what could be the reason why it has happened, or what is the reason for his indiscipline in the organization. So there is a proper procedure for it. You make a charge sheet, you give a written statement of defense, you appoint the person who is basically an investigating officer, which is also called as, to whom we call as a IO. He basically does a preliminary hearing from the defense and tries to understand, inspect certain documents, does regular hearings, try to have a word with that particular defense case, give everything from his side in a written manner to the management. So he prepares an inquiry report, submits that particular report to the committee, and ultimately it is then the decision which is taken by the management, that whether any penalty has to be charged, or whether the employee has to be laid off or retrenched, or he has to be, his rank has to be reduced, he has to be removed from his service, dismissal has to happen, you need to take that matter further to the arbitrator or adjudicator, or you need to withhold his increment or his promotion. These are all different penalties, different types of penalties, which are basically considered while if there is any kind of an indiscipline. What I've just talked about in this content which is shared with you, it is already mentioned in detail about the charge sheets. You can just read what is charge sheet, what is considerable explanation. As I just said, once a charge sheet is served to a workman who has done an indiscipline, he submits his explanation, admitting the charges or requesting for mercy, or even denying for the charge and requesting for an inquiry. It could also be at times when the workmen do not submit the explanation at all. So it is very important that he should take a step forward and come forward with different I would say, solution, or rather, I would say different statements to the management, mentioning about what he feels, that why, what were the reasons for these indiscipline issues which have happened. Then you just go through this entire thing. It is very important. Again, I would say, when I talk about delinquent employee, when I talk about a presenting officer, that is, I've just spoken about a PO, the delinquent employee. Who is a delinquent employee? So, if I talk about a delinquent employee, it is basically that no inquiry can be said to have been held as per the procedure if there is no proper charge sheet employed. So, the one who has done any kind of, indiscipline. So, it is during this inquiry, the employee, if he says that I withdraw myself from the entire ex partes which are mentioned, or the, I would say, the areas on which the management has posed certain concerns regarding indiscipline. So the delinquent employee turns up for the inquiry after some witnesses have been examined, and then finally he goes for the proper inquiry officer, allows him to participate in the inquiry, goes for the recording, that these facts needs to be recording in the proceedings, and the inquiry officer recalls the witnesses, examines them in the absence of the delinquent employee, so that there is an opportunity which is given to cross examine such witnesses. So that is very, very important, and it should be done, because that gives an equal opportunity to that employee, that he or she is heard by the management. I hope somewhat about this part related to your discipline and the causes of indiscipline, what I have shared with you, is clear.
Yes.
Very honestly, it's a very, very detailed topic, and in a short span of 1.5 hour or 2 hours, this is when we discuss about the discipline and the indiscipline areas or issues. It takes time. From my side also, I understand that at a stretch, if I'll just bombard these contents on you, or this entire thing on you, it's not going to be that easy for you. So I request you to go through this content and try to understand the link what I have tried to develop or to create today, so that you are able to understand unit 12, unit 13. Very quickly, moving to the last unit, that is union and associations. I would like to tell you that unions and associations have a very strong, I would say, bearing in the organization, because when we talk about unions and associations, we are talking basically about the trade unions. In this, what you need to study is something about what are basically trade unions, what are their functions, their objectives, what are the different types of role which these trade unions do. And as per the Act of 1926, there is some content, small paragraph related to the Trade Union Act and the different union movements which are there. In India, it is given. You can also, I can also share some content related to this for your country as well. Or if you will try to Google a few contents related to the different laws which are there for trade unionism in your nation, you will come to know about what is the actual essence of the trade unions in the organization. Trade unions are basically, if I talk about, a very, very powerful socio-economic political institutions which are formed. And it is basically formed so that under the Act of 1926, if I talk about, they are basically formed so that there is a healthy relationship between the employer and the employee. It is more of a permanent formation of worker. It is not temporary, neither it is a very casual combination of worker. It is a very formal a permanent firm which is formed for securing certain economic like issues related to the working, living standards, wages, salaries, social issues like educational, recreational, medicational aspects of the employees, and the benefits which can be given to the HR working in the organization. So these trade unions, what do? They collectively make a it's a kind of, I would say, an association which helps to address certain feelings and to share notes and to inform the management about what are the requirements of the employees at different level. There are various forms of trade unions which have been I would say evolved over these many years. There was a traditional form, there is a neoclassical form, and nowadays, if I talk about, so they are more into WPM. We have just discussed that they are more into the participative decision making, which we call as a revolutionary form of the trade unions. Then moving forward, if I say what are the objectives of these trade unions, so they basically, I've just talked about it. They take care of the economic areas, that is wage and salary, working condition, discipline, that it remains in the organization. If any victimization is there, an employee is into any victimization from the management side, so these trade unions, they support the the employee against any kind of penalty or any kind of a penal discussion which is taken, or penal transfers or suspensions which are taken, or dismissals which are done. So in these situations, these trade unions go for justice for that particular employee, the victimized employee in the organization. They also take care of certain personnel policies, that is HR policy. So if there are any kind of incorrect or improper implementation of these HR policies in terms of recruitment, promotions, transfers, trainings, or selection of the employees, so the trade unions are having a very strong involvement in the functions of HR. So they try to develop a healthy relation between the employer and employee. They work as a negotiating machinery. I've already spoken about it, that they are more into like giving proposals and making counter proposals to the management, keeping in mind how they can protect the interest of the workers through the different collective bargaining or different these methods, that is negotiatory machinery. So overall, if I talk about trade unions, they are for safeguarding the organization health also. They're taking care of the employees. They are the linking pins between the management and the employee. They try to reduce the rate of absenteeism, labor turnover, have a healthy relationship between the employer and employee, and contribute towards increasing the level of production, having discipline, and also improved quality of work life. So these trade unions, they have various roles to play. They are the bargainers also, they are agents also, they are also part of different committees. They are into, as they are also called as a change agent, because they lead to different changes in the organization. So they are actively involved in all these things. Now when you will read all the content, you will come to know about different concepts what I have just spoken about. Theories of trade unions also you can read, which talks about that since if I talk about various labor movements which have come from the past, from Adam Smith's time, what are the theories of the trade union which has evolved from Marx's time in coming to the Max Weber's theory of industrial democracy, coming to the theory of union control of industry in 1913. Many theories related to trade unions have been evolved, and since then, they have a very prominent role to play in the management structure. So, if I talk about the entire, I would say, growth of these trade union, initially it was not that the trade unions were given that due importance, but then definitely with time, what has happened, the trade unions now, if we say, they are properly recognized. They are created, they are under the Union Act. They are basically, they regulate different types of workings of unions. And now if we say, so there are different parts in the world where these unions are registered, and we have various in India. If I talk about, for let's say, just stating few examples from India, if I say, so it is, in Maharashtra we have recognition of trade union. We have in there, like from Madhya Pradesh, from where I am, we have Industrial Relation Act of 1960. Other states also in India, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, they have their own legislations of late. So ultimately, the major, I would say, reason why they have been given that this recognition is to give them that particular right to raise issues to the management, give them the right to collect membership fee, and to come up with different types of discussions to be done with the employers and also with the employees, to discuss various matters of grievances, to come forward with different representation in terms of various nominations of committees. So these are all what are the in brief, if I talk about what are the role of the trade unions have been, and why are they so very important in the industries. Dear learners, that is all from my side for today's academic counseling meeting. We have tried to touch a few points from every unit of yours. And as I said previously also, that I would be really very happy if you read our content and come to the academic counseling, because that is what is the prime nature or the essence of these academic counseling sessions are, that we can have more of interactive sessions where you read a content and then come and I can address your concerns. So anything, any area of concern, any point where you have read from block 4 and you would like to ask from me? Is block 4 clear to all of you somewhat?
Yes, block 4 is clear.
Okay. Anybody else from my learners?
Ma'am, with regards to block 4,
Yes, please go ahead.
you see, we need to like take time and go through all the units, either today, tomorrow, or even later during the night hours. So I think for now, if someone comes across something that needs to be clarified, will there be another session maybe towards the examination that will provide more insight on
Yeah, I
examination?
completely understand. I completely understand that thing, as I have already shared about this area previously also, that if we talk about the academic counseling, and if it is like for 2 hours at a stretch, I'm talking about a content, and you haven't read about it, because in the last academic counseling I said that read some part of block 4 and come for the academic counseling, because that is how we connect with each other. If you are looking for more academic counselings where you have any doubt, where while you are going through the content near to your exams, you can always put forward that concern to Smriti ma'am. She would be she's actually the coordinator, and she'll be informing me, and if we can, we'll definitely plan another academic counseling where you, because this is all about briefing what I have done with you. So any like concerns now, if you have any questions, if you have, so if the coordinator they arrange, then we can definitely have that.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Any
Just
other?
a quick one.
Yes,
Just a
please.
quick one. When you're reading and going through these modules, then you come up with something that you need to clarify on. Do you just wait for these counseling sessions, or is there any other than the WhatsApp group? When you reach a block, where do you get help? Do you just come to the WhatsApp? Is there any person directly or any contact that we can use as we're studying and can get some immediate help from there? That's just my question.
Grace, I would like to answer your question by again saying that I am the academic counselor who is appointed for this subject. This concern of yours, I think I repeat again, Smriti ma'am would be the right person to answer that. For me, I was given the the responsibility to brief you about these blocks. I completely, as I said, it's a very vast subject because 14 chapters. If from one end I am just bombarding the content on you, so it is not that easy. I completely understand to that particular problem of yours, but yes, if it is something where you have any concerns, you can write it down. You can prepare notes for it, and can then like if suppose you have many areas now which you have highlighted which you want should be resolved, then together you can definitely ask Smriti ma'am, and we can have another academic counseling session closer maybe to your exam, Grace.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
uh, any other concerns or any other questions of anyone from today's academic counseling? I have shared with you a few very important things, and I would like you that while you are, going through that content, just study grievance procedure in detail. Just study the causes of grievances, indiscipline. What are the measures in, or what are the ways in which the indiscipline in the organization are resolved? Study what is the importance or role of trade unions are, and workers participation in management, quality circles. These are very important topics. That's the reason I've tried to touch those topics in the limited time which was given to me. My dear learners, I hope the academic counseling for today was helpful for you. And with that note, I would like to conclude my academic counseling sessions. It was really a very wonderful experience to have an international, academic counseling with all of you. Mohammed, you would like to
Hello.
say something? Yes, Mohammed.
I will just like to express gratitude if I will be allowed.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. It is something which is very much required even from your side. I would also like to know the feedback.
First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for the course. We've enjoyed every minute of your lecture as well as your marvelous sense of humor. We indeed, we are indeed very grateful. We'll never forget that. I truly appreciate you and your time for helping us on all those occasions. Thank you for your steadfast diligence. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Thank you so much. Yes, Bora Innocent, you want to say something? You've raised your hand.
To express my gratitude to how you manage with this unit and this all blocks of this course. And my question is about the assignment, because I saw something like in the WhatsApp group, some
Yes.
announcement about the assignment about this course. Can you tell us clearly what we have to do, because you are the one who. Thank you.
Bora, I would like to answer your question. You have asked me anything that is in regard to the assignment. See, my role was as an academic counselor to brief you about the content. These all concerns of yours are to be taken care by the IGNU coordinator. That is, I've just mentioned Dr. Smriti. So what you can do is, I came to know that you are all connected with her in your WhatsApp group. So you can drop your concerns there, and with those concerns, what you have, she'll definitely plan a counseling session that is going to be more regarding to these concerns and problems, not to the subject. This was basically a subject academic counseling which was planned, and related to assignments, related to your like word limit, what I was just hearing when we started with the academic counseling, that can all be shared with Smriti ma'am. Ma'am has already joined.
Okay. Thank you.
Smriti ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, there are concerns regarding submission of their assignments. So I was just talking to them that this is basically academic counseling, which was subject related. And if any concerns are there related to the submissions of assignment, that can be shared with you.
Okay, so I'll organize a grievance redressal camp tomorrow online. So we'll discuss all these things.
Ma'am, that is
Okay?
all what we have discussed today, employer-employee relation.
Okay. Great. So how's the session? How was the session?
Ma'am, from my end, I have completed all the 4 blocks and tried to touch all the units from all the blocks.
Okay, great, great, great. So I thanks a lot, Dr. Rashmeet. You have been, I hope learners could connect as I can see through the feedbacks also. Mohammed, can you please mute your okay. So I believe all the learners were able to connect, and uh, whenever we require, we'll take your services again if we require.
Sure,
So
ma'am.
thank you very much, and good night, everyone. And I'll before tomorrow's meeting or after tomorrow, whatever is suitable. After tomorrow's first meeting, like it's from 2 to 4 p.m. in as per Indian Standard Time, same time which was followed by today morning. So we can discuss all these things. So don't worry. Okay.
Ma'am, before we end the meeting, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to have, academic counseling at the international level, and also to all my learners for their patient listening. I understand completely that for 2 hours at a stretch, they have been very active. They have been really very active for any question which I have put forward at any time, and they have responded. They were very keen to know also about certain concepts, so that made even the class, the entire counseling, very lively for me as well. And I also actually enjoyed the entire academic counseling. So
That's so nice of you.
yeah.
Because it's not easy to speak for 2 hours.
Yes.
Actually, it's actually in IGNO's concept, academic counseling is to for interactions and all, but when we go for online mode, it's not that type. So right now, these are the norms only, and we need to follow that.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, I can thank the learner and most of all Dr. Rasmi. So, see you soon. Good night.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.